What if the most challenging thing you'll ever do is also the most rewarding? And what if doing it right sometimes means doing, well, maybe less than you think?
Huh. That's quite a thought, isn't it? Especially when we're talking about, being a parent.
It really is, and that's exactly what we're diving into today. This deep dive, it was sparked by sources one of you shared with us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're digging into insights from a researcher, a clinical psychologist, based on decades of experience and talking to real parents.
Right, parents trying to figure things out today.
Exactly. So our goal here is pretty simple. Pull out the key lessons these sources offer for anyone in a parental role, really, mothers, fathers.
About finding that deep meaning in the middle of all the challenges. And we're sticking just to what these sources lay out.
Just the sources. So let's just jump in. Are the old ideas, the traditional ideas about being a mom or dad, are they still useful? Or even possible?
Well, it's a lot to unpack, definitely.
Yeah.
And the sources, they start right off with a really powerful statement. Basically, parenting is likely the most challenging, the most difficult, and ultimately the most rewarding thing you'll ever do.
Wow. Okay. That lands with some weight. It doesn't pull any punches about how intense it is.
Not at all. And the source ties that reward, that profound worth, to something really specific.
Which is?
Voluntarily taking on responsibility and self-sacrifice. It's framed as the kind of spirit that makes everything work, individuals, families, communities.
Choosing that responsibility.
Choosing it. That's where the meaning comes from, according to this view. It's the ultimate adventure, they call it.
Okay, so roles. How do these sources talk about parental roles? They bring up this idea, the sex stereotype idea.
Yeah, they mention it. You could say the mother secures, she's happy with who the child is now.
Right, and the father encourages focused on who the child could become.
Exactly. That's the stereotype presented. And it does highlight a real tension, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. You need both. You absolutely need to appreciate the kid now and help them grow.
But
the source immediately adds, this is crucial. It's a mistake if one parent always plays just one role.
Ah, okay. So it's not meant to be rigid boxes.
No, not at all. Ideally, both parents do both. It's this constant balancing act, being grateful for who they are right now while also, cheering them on for the future.
And there's that anecdote they share, right, about the mother finding it hard to just play.
Oh, yeah. That one really hits home for a lot of people, I think. She felt this constant pull, like she should be doing the dishes or cleaning, other domestic stuff.
Well, the father had his, play apartment.
That's the term they used, yeah. Like a separate zone just for playing, going outside. It really shows that struggle, doesn't it? Especially, perhaps, for mothers, balancing that secure base role with the encouraging play part. It's tough to integrate.
Okay, now here's something that might shift your perspective quite a bit. The sources point out that the actual time you spend parenting small children, it's way shorter than you think.
Right. It feels like forever when you're in it. The sleepless nights, the diapers, time kind of warps.
Totally. But the source is saying that feeling, it's deceptive. On the grand scale of your life, that phase is surprisingly short.
And not noticing that, not really appreciating it while it's happening.
That's called a major mistake. A path to regret later on.
Wow. So appreciating it, even though it's demanding, is framed as a privilege.
Yeah. And that feeling the source mentions, that during that time, nothing else, career, hobbies, feels quite as worthy of your focus.
Yeah.
That feeling is probably telling you something important about how significant this fleeting stage really is.
It changes how you see it. Not an endless slog, but a precious, limited window.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So building on that secure base idea, the sources describe the parent, often the mother in the first examples they give.
The zone of security.
Yeah, security and predictability and care. That's the phrase.
This is home base, the safe place.
Right. So the child goes out, explores, plays, pushes boundaries.
And then bumps into something scary or just needs a bit of comfort.
And they run back to the parent. The source calls it a continual dance.
Exploring out, retreating back in.
Okay. And the parent is the anchor for that. Early on, the first few months, the source says an infant needs super close contact. You almost can't give too much attention.
Right. That closeness is vital then. But here's the tricky part the source highlights. As the child gets older, starts doing more on their own.
Becomes more independent.
Yeah. The parent has to gradually pull back in lockstep with the child's growing ability. You have to read their cues.
It's like holding a kite string, maybe tight when they're just learning, but letting it out slowly as they go higher and further.
That's a great analogy, exactly. And the payoff, the big reward for getting this right.
What is it?
The child doesn't just vanish when they grow up. Because you gave them that security and encouraged their independence, you build the foundation for a real adult relationship later.
Which the source calls a good deal for everybody.
It really is. The idea is if you're willing to sort of lose your child to their own adventures.
By letting them go.
Yeah, by letting them explore confidently, you actually gain them back as a connected adult down the line.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. A common problem mentioned in the sources. Spoiling kids. Overindulgence.
Ah, yes. There's that anecdote, isn't there?
Yeah.
About the parents with the 13-year-old and the 5-year-old.
That's the one. They spoil the older one, but were stricter with the younger one. And their reason was...
They grew up with very little, so they wanted to give their kids everything. Understandable impulse, but...
The source warns it can backfire.
Big time. It uses this really strong image. Warns against the child becoming the little god emperor of the universe.
Yikes. That sounds problematic. Leading to narcissism, the source suggests.
Exactly. So the core lesson here, according to the source, is actually incredibly simple, but maybe hard to stick to.
What is it?
Don't do anything for your child that they can actually do for themselves.
Things like getting dressed on their own, cleaning their room, setting the table when they're old enough.
All those things. Yes, it's almost always faster for you to just do it in the moment. But that's not the point. The point is helping the child learn, become capable, to help them enter what the source calls the realm of adult responsibility.
And this ties into their self-esteem, right? How they feel about themselves.
Directly. The source is very clear. Nothing builds self-esteem like realizing you are useful and necessary.
That your contribution matters. That it's real.
Exactly. Feeling good about yourself doesn't come from being waited on. It comes from doing things that matter. Contributing.
Okay. So, shifting to the father's role. We had a listener question, remember? Someone about to become a stepdad to a 2-year-old.
Right. He asked, is fatherhood something you just are, biologically, or is it a role you have to consciously step into?
And the source's answer?
Very direct. It's always a role you choose to take on. Being a father, it's about building a relationship. And like any real relationship, you have to actively work on it, develop it.
So it takes effort, intention. It's not just automatic. And fathers are models. Huge models.
They really are. They model what it looks like to be an engaged adult. Someone who pursues a worthwhile goal, honestly, committedly.
Embracing a voluntary adventure, as the source puts it.
Yeah. It lists some specific qualities for masculine role modeling, too.
Like what?
Things like establishing a vision for the future, committing to it, showing resilience when things get tough, having faith, serving others, family, community.
Protection, too.
Protection, definitely. And caring for the vulnerable. There's even that shepherd analogy used in the source.
Oh, yeah, keeping the wolves away, but also caring for the flock.
It's an old image, but it captures that protective, caring side simply. The source suggests striving for these things as part of being a worthy role model.
And with kids, even a 2-year-old, spending actual time really connecting, that's vital.
Absolutely. Non-negotiable, really. You have to put in the time to actually get to know them. Kids are not stupid, the source says. They're watching. Always watch.
You talk to them.
You talk to them. Obviously about things they can understand at their age, but that genuine communication, that back and forth, needs to happen all the way through. Toddlerhood, teens, adulthood.
Okay, this kind of brings us back full circle to that idea of meaning. The sources contrast finding meaning with just focusing on yourself.
Right. They argue that real deep meaning isn't found in just chasing your own pleasure or status or comfort.
In fact, the source suggests that kind of self-focused life is almost like suffering.
Yeah, that you can't really escape yourself or find fulfillment that way. The real answer the sources propose is adopting responsibility for other people, for the future.
So taking on that load, as they put it, it's not just about being productive.
No, it's much deeper than that. It gives you sustaining meaning. It's the reason to keep going, to orient yourself, especially when things are hard. It's like the anchor.
But what about that feeling someone mentioned? Feeling invaded or claustrophobic by responsibility, worried about losing freedom?
The source tackles that head on. It basically asks, freedom from responsibility is freedom to do what exactly? Freedom to be self-centered and miserable and lonesome. That's how the source puts it. It challenges whether that kind of freedom is actually desirable.
Okay, now for the twist, the payoff. The sources say, pretty bluntly, the thing is, they pay you.
Huh. Yeah. And it's not just a nice idea. They cite actual data.
Data.
Studies, yeah. Finding that parents doing stuff with their little kids, they actually report enjoying those activities more than single people doing the exact same things.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just sacrifice. There's real joy coming back to the parent.
Definitely. It's presented as a kind of transaction, but, a positive one, a rewarding one.
And a big chunk of that payment is seeing the world like it's new again.
Absolutely. Through their eyes. Every little thing, an ant on the sidewalk, leaves falling. It's all brand new and amazing to a child.
And you get to see that wonder. You get to experience that freshness with them.
Which the source calls a really good deal.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So you become a master of those little adventures, as the source says. And if you lean into that,
you might find there's actually nothing else you'd rather be doing in those moments.
Yeah.
The source suggests a child who's well-disciplined and playfully accompanying.
Meaning guided, but also fun to be around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That child is one of the few people an adult can hang out with and find that much genuine, unadulterated joy.
Okay, let's try and crystallize some of the main takeaways here, based only on these sources. For motherhood, what are the core messages?
It seems to be about holding confidence in your child's competence, their ability to handle the world, being that reliable, secure base they can always come back to.
Right, the anchor.
And caring deeply, but being careful not to worship the child. Avoiding that path towards narcissism.
And for fatherhood, what are the key lessons from the sources?
The big one seems to be, strive to be the kind of man your kids would actually want to imitate. Be a model of responsible adulthood, someone who takes on worthwhile challenges, embraces that voluntary adventure.
And embracing that responsibility isn't just a chore.
No, it's framed as the way to find real purpose. Moving beyond just thinking about yourself to something bigger.
And the sources even give a practical exercise, right? Like a little homework assignment for you, the listener.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, but could be really insightful. They suggest writing down maybe just a few paragraphs. 3 things your father did well.
Okay.
And 3 things your mother did well.
And the flip side, too.
Also reflect on 3 things you think each of them could maybe have done better or differently.
And the point isn't blame, but
clarity. To help you think, which of the good things do I want to bring forward in my own life, maybe in my own parenting, and which of the things that were, less than optimal, how can I consciously choose a different way?
So it's a tool for thinking about your own path.
Exactly, for navigating future challenges.
Well, this has been quite a deep dive into some really foundational ideas about parenting, all drawn from the sources you shared with us. Challenging stuff, but rewarding too.
Definitely. And these sources, they touched on so many other related things we didn't even get to.
Like what?
Oh, toddler behavior, how to teach teens responsibility, dealing with peer pressure, building resilience, lots more potential ground to cover.
Maybe for another time. But for now, here's a final thought to leave you with, kind of building on these ideas. If adopting responsibility really is the key to a meaningful life, as these sources argue, what's one small responsibility, maybe something you've been avoiding, that you could consciously take on starting today that might bring you a little more purpose?
Just a small step.
Yeah.
Something manageable, but real, worth thinking about in your own life.
Absolutely. And we genuinely love to hear what you think about all this. Was there one idea from this deep dive that really struck you? Or what comes to mind for that final question about responsibility?
Yeah, please leave a comment below, share your thoughts with us.